Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu likely to address a joint meeting of the US legislature on Gaza operation. China conducts a second day of war games around Taiwan, says the military drills test its ability to seize power on the self-governing island. India to vote in the sixth phase of parliamentary election on Saturday. 58 seats up for grabs across 6 states and 2 union territories. And extreme weather events wreak havoc across the globe. Multiple casualties reported after a tornado hits the US. A heat wave grips India. First up, let's get you the latest on the world's largest election in India. The world's largest election in the world's largest democracy is nearing its end. Polling in the second last phase of India's parliamentary election will take place on the 25th of May. 58 seats across 6 states and 2 union territories are up for grabs. The campaigning for the sixth phase of election ended on Thursday. A total of 889 candidates are in the fray. Polling will also be conducted in Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag Rajouri constituency after the polling date was postponed from the 7th of May to the 25th. Preparations, meanwhile, are on in full swing for the voting on Saturday. Polling parties are being dispatched with electronic voting machines to the voting centres. Security preparations have also been made for a smooth conduct of the polls. Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar appealed all voters to participate in the festival of democracy. He said all arrangements are in place at polling stations for the voting on Saturday.
कल 25 तारीख को 8 स्टेट्स और यूटीज़ में 58 लोकसभा चुनाव में पार्लियामेंट्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसीज में चुनाव होना है, जिसमें उड़ीसा लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली की भी 42 सीट शामिल है। तो कल करीब 11.13 करोड़ वोटर्स वोट देने जाएंगे और वो जाएंगे लगभग 1,14,000 बूथ पे कल वोट देने जाएंगे। तो सबसे आह्वान है कि वोट देने ज़रूर आएँ। ये मतलब छठी फेज़ है कल और थोड़ी गर्मी है। गर्मी के सारे इंतजाम हमने बचाने के बूथ्स पिक किए हैं।
As Haryana prepares to go to the polls on Saturday, the issues weighing on people's mind are mostly related to livelihood. From jobs to the needs of the micro and small scale industries that gives employment to much of the unorganized labour force are what matters most to voters. Amritpal Singh has more.
The Scientific Instruments Industrial Cluster at Haryana's Ambala, which has not been in the best of health in the past few years, is crying for attention. Home to more than 2,100 micro, small and medium industrial units manufacturing scientific instruments used in educational institutes like microscopes, incubators, glassware, the Ambala Industrial Cluster has been manufacturing and supplying scientific instruments since 1914, not only in the country but all over the world.
Ambala has been Asia's biggest market for the last 100 years. All the instruments are manufactured here. They were all supplied to engineering and medical colleges as well as for the satellite production.
उसमें भी कई पार्ट्स अंबाला से बन के जाते हैं.
And yet, the cluster cries for immediate attention. As political parties come seeking votes at their door, people here have their demands ready.
Here, the industry is very small. Laborers are working from home. Because of this, people from the pollution board disturb us. Neighbors accuse us of creating disturbance as well. So we need an industrial area plot of about 150 to 200 yards because we work on a smaller scale.
ताकि हमें एक जाके हम वहाँ पे इजी तरीके से अपना काम को कर सकें.
We have always lacked skilled labor here. In present times, people lack the budget to convert to automation. Ambala Kant is a small-scale industry.
यहाँ पर scientific industry
We have an old base of scientific industry here, along with a brand, but we lack local infrastructure. So government aid towards export facilities will be beneficial.
फिर भी यहाँ पर हमें क्या है local थोड़ा सा infrastructure.
Though mainly unorganized, these units put together have an annual turnover of more than 3,000 crore rupees and provide employment to more than 20,000 people. As Haryana prepares to vote this Saturday, it's livelihood issues which matter most to people, like this scientific manufacturing industrial cluster of Ambala, which cries for attention, urgently seeking the policy makers to hear and meet their demands. With cameraman Saurabh Bakshi, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Ambala.
All right, joining me are two of my colleagues. Akshay Dongre is in Delhi and Amritpal Singh joins us from Haryana. To you first, Akshay, talk to us about the arrangements for polling in Delhi tomorrow.
Well, Ramesh, if you look at the kind of elections that are held in Delhi, given the sheer size of the population, that is over 200 million people residing just in the National Capital Territory of Delhi, then elaborate arrangements are required for each and every election. Given the fact that these are national elections and are of national importance, security has been beefed up across the National Capital Territory. There are police barricades, checkings that are taking place. All the electronic voting machines will start to get dispatched from the dispatch centers across Delhi. Now, each and every district has their own dispatch centers that have been prepared, where all the micro observers and polling officials come. They get briefing, they get training on how to operate these EVMs properly from one last time before they can take all of the electronic voting machines along with the security officials, and then they leave for their destination to the polling booths, where all of these electronic voting machines along with other voting equipment will be prepared. It will be set up, and there will be a demonstration that will be done early in the morning today, a few hours ahead of the polling, when the polling starts, and then after that at 7 a.m. tomorrow the polling will begin. But to talk about the other arrangements that are required, given the fact that Delhi right now is going through a heat wave, the temperatures are reaching scorching 47.4 degrees Celsius as well, that it took place, that happened a few days back in Nazafgarh. So other arrangements have been made to ensure that the elderly and the persons with disabilities have other options as well, to ensure that they keep their health first. Besides that, voting teams will be going, election commission teams will be going to their residences to get their votes. But for people who will be going to the polling booths, ample arrangements of water and other required things, including oral rehydration solutions as well, will be there at the polling booths when the people go to cast their ballot, in case they require any emergency services. Those emergency services will also be on standby to ensure that nobody suffers because of this scorching heat and the heat wave that's going on. So all of these arrangements are in place. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. the polling will begin, and all eyes are now on the people of Delhi to see that what is going to be a likely turnout for the people here in the National Capital Territory, because usually the cities have recorded a lower voter turnout as compared to the rural areas. So how Delhi votes and in what numbers Delhi votes, that will be seen tomorrow when the numbers come out.
All right, let me turn to Amritpal Singh in Haryana. Amrit, all 10 seats are going to the polls in Haryana on Monday. Tell us more about the issues that are foremost in the minds of the voters there.
They're going to polls tomorrow. That's on Saturday, Ramesh. All 10 seats of Haryana. Now, for voters, as I pointed out in my report, jobs, livelihood issues, infrastructure, municipal issues matter to them because these are their immediate requirements. I've traveled across districts in Haryana for the past few days that I have been in the state. People have, essentially issues regarding how the youngsters, jobs is very important for farmers because the Haryana being an agrarian state, issues related to crops, issues related to MSP, legal guarantee on MSP is a big factor, especially among the rural population here. These are the issues which matter to people. Apart from that, say when you talk to women, their concerns are mainly about safety and security. Their concerns are about they being easily able to move out of the small towns and hamlets that they live in, go to bigger cities, more opportunities for them, and also they are playing a greater role in the workforce of the country. So this is what voters tell us, Ramesh.
All right, we will leave it there. Amritpal Singh in Haryana and Akshay Dongre in Delhi. Thank you for now. Appreciate it. And in some more election-related news, the inked finger has now become a symbol of voter awareness in India. The mark, which is a proof that a person has cast their vote, brings with it a sense of achievement and pride as well. But in one of these seats going to the polls in Odisha, it might as well get you a 20% rebate on your restaurant bill. The Hotel Association of Puri has decided to give a discount to patrons with the indelible mark on their finger. Ravi Dhiman reports.
The temple town is an important pilgrimage center, one of the Char Dham in the nation. Its preeminent place in spiritual context has also made it a prestigious Lok Sabha seat for the state of Odisha. After the cacophony of election campaign has ceded space to the usual hustle and bustle of a normal urban life, this seaside town is all decked up for polling on 25th of May. In a welcome move, the Hotel Association of Puri has announced a 20% waiver on the bills to the voters in all its member restaurants. The indelible ink mark on the fingers will help voters erase 20% of their food and beverage bill.
Every day we make profits, but sometimes we have to do something for the society and country also. So this is an encouragement for the people to come out and vote.
We are offering a 20% discount on food and beverage for 25th, the election day here, and the next day, 26th also, consecutively, we are offering 20% to encourage the young voter along with their parents also.
The offer will be valid not only for 25th, but also for Sunday, the 26th. So even after the day, the voters can go and enjoy the offer in about 100 hotels of Puri, which also house a restaurant.
Voting will be till evening 6 or 5:30. So people who go out to vote may find it difficult again to go out for dinner. So they can enjoy the Sunday's brunch and evening snacks and dinner too.
The tourists visiting Puri who have already cast their votes in earlier phases may also reap the windfall. But the association is not very particular about it. The voters will get a reward for exercising their franchise. This step by the hotel industry is indeed a step in the right direction. These initiatives go a long way in keeping the message of the importance of voting in circulation and also act as an incentive to many youth who are voting for the first time.
A 20% cut in profit is not a small loss to absorb, but if a 20% cut in the overall bill can motivate and incentivize people to go out and vote, it will not only strengthen democracy, but it will also make people realize the power of their single vote. With camera person Sanjay Jaina, this is Ravi Dhiman, in Puri for DD India.
Now, campaigning for the 7th and last phase of India's election has intensified. BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a rally at Nahan in Himachal Pradesh in support of the party's candidate on the Shimla seat, Suresh Kashyap. The Prime Minister was to address another rally at Mandi in support of the party's candidate, actor Kangana Ranaut. Himachal Pradesh has 4 parliamentary constituencies: Hamirpur, Mandi, Shimla and Kangra. In 2019, the BJP had won all 4 seats in the state. The Prime Minister said at the rally in Shimla that India fights its own battles and no longer begs from the world.
हमने कांग्रेस का दौर देखा है, जब एक कमजोर सरकार देश में हुआ करती थी, उस समय पाकिस्तान हमारे सिर पर चढ़ करके नाचता था। कांग्रेस की कमजोर सरकार दुनिया में गुहार लगाती फिरती थी। मोदी ने कहा, भारत अब दुनिया के पास भीख नहीं मांगेगा, भारत अपनी लड़ाई खुद लड़ेगा। और फिर भारत ने घर में घुस करके मारा।
The state of Punjab is drawing leaders from various political parties. Sachin Pilot of the Congress is in Punjab's Anandpur Sahib for a public meeting. BSP chief Mayawati is also holding an election rally in the state. BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah will hold a public meeting at Madhupur and Ara in the state of Bihar. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a rally in Maharajganj. He will also campaign in Devariya and Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh. And Tejasvi Yadav of the RJD will hold a public meeting at Deoghar in Jharkhand. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Britain's Parliament will be suspended on Friday before it is formally shut down next week ahead of a 5-week-long election campaign. And China's second day of war games around Taiwan tests its ability to seize power on the self-governing island.
Tell us about your best moments in cricket.
I'd say the World Cup.
Okay.
It's pretty hard to go past last year's, ODI World Cup. It's just, these other series are huge. I wish I could say I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Where does India stand in terms of competition, being an opponent for Australia?
For the last 14 years, India have been an extremely hard team to compete against at home and away.
And your favourite Indian cricketers of all time?
Yeah, definitely Tendulkar, Kohli, but I'm going to say Jadeja as well.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. In London, British lawmakers are due to finish up parliamentary business in the coming hours before joining their party campaigns for the 4th of July parliamentary election. The British Parliament will be suspended on Friday before it is formally shut down ahead of the official 5-week-long election campaign. A number of laws that could be passed in a couple of hours include bills enabling compensation for the victims of contaminated blood scandal. With major parties kick-starting their campaign, the ruling Conservatives and the opposition Labour Party clashed on energy policy. Labour leader Keir Starmer is using a visit to Scotland to promote his plan for a publicly owned green electricity generator. For his part, Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho has set out plans for consumer-friendly changes. The watchdog is expected to announce that the average household energy bill will drop by around 7% from the 1st of July. And joining me from London is my colleague Ollie Barrett. Ollie, does it mean that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's flagship bill to eventually ban smoking in the country will likely be shelved?
It looks that way, certainly in the short term. It looks like that particular piece of legislation is not going to get done by the end of today and therefore is effectively shelved. Now, one caveat to that is that that legislation actually had cross-party support from the Conservatives and the Labour Party. So it could well be that if the Labour Party were to be elected at the upcoming election, then they could take on that legislation or put something together in a similar form. And of course, if Rishi Sunak were to win the upcoming election, then you would imagine that, given that that is a key plank of, or had been a key plank of his, what he thought might be his political legacy over the longer term, that it would be something therefore that he would take up in the next Parliament as well. And we expect that it may well be in the Conservative Party's election manifesto when we get to the point that the parties start to publish those. But certainly in the short term, it looks like that smoking legislation is not going to make it through, as parliamentarians race through as much business as they can by the end of today. And then, as you say, there's that formal dissolution of Parliament which comes next week. But effectively the election campaign is very much underway already, and that's why Parliament is wrapping up its business this week.
Ollie, Sunak and Labour leader Keir Starmer's campaigns are underway, and tell us more about that as well. And also, the energy policy is Friday's big issue.
That's right. Energy is a big focus of Friday's campaigning for a couple of reasons. One is, as you were saying, the regulator has announced that energy bills, or at least the cap on energy bills for households, is coming down quite significantly because of a fall in energy prices. Now, the Prime Minister is seizing on that to say it's evidence that his economic plan is working, that the economy is improving, that the cost of living crisis is easing for individuals and households up and down the country. And he's therefore using that to try and paint the story that he's telling about an improving economic picture, but also to use it to say that if the Labour Party were to be elected as the next government, then he claims that that would mean energy prices might start going back up, that they would put in green policies that he says would see the journey towards net zero actually meaning greater costs for businesses and households. The Labour Party is trying to respond to all of that today by setting out its own plans on energy, denying a lot of the characterisations that Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives are making about their energy policies, but also trumpeting that great British energy body that they say would work to actually bring prices down and secure energy supplies in the UK for the future. That taking place in Scotland, much of that campaigning for Keir Starmer, because that's where Great British Energy would be based if the Labour Party get into power. So energy, a major focus today. Another of the things that people are talking about a lot is when and how many television debates there might be between the two leaders and potentially other party leaders as well. Rishi Sunak says he wants to do one a week with Keir Starmer between now and the election, so as many as 6 televised debates. Keir Starmer seems to want rather less. He says he wants to spend more time talking to the voters rather than to Rishi Sunak and other party leaders on television. Rishi Sunak says it's because Keir Starmer's afraid of making the arguments in public and having more than a couple of debates with his opposite number. So that's part of the focus today. Television debates, energy, but also other issues, of course, as well, as the campaign starts to really ramp up now.
Ollie, thank you. Ollie Barrett in London there. And staying in Europe, police lifted about 100 barricades throughout New Caledonia on Friday after a night described by locals as fairly peaceful. President Emmanuel Macron visited the French territory in the Indo-Pacific on Thursday after more than a week of unrest. During his visit, Macron said that the state of emergency imposed in New Caledonia after deadly riots could only be lifted if all the barricades erected across the island are removed. Ross Cullen has more from Paris.
A minute's silence on Thursday upon his arrival in New Caledonia in memory of the people who've lost their lives in the worst violence to hit the French overseas territory since the 1980s. 6 people have died, 4 residents and 2 police officers. Emmanuel Macron said he was calling for and hoping for calm, peace and security to return to the island. Now, an additional 3,000 security personnel have been deployed to New Caledonia, a mix of police and the military, and the French president said that they would remain in place for as long as is necessary to restore order. They have been sent there to try to quell the violence which broke out more than 10 days ago after contentious voting reforms were approved by MPs here at the National Assembly in Paris. Emmanuel Macron said that France had been facing an unprecedented movement of insurrection. Ross Cullen in Paris reporting for DD India.
And in news from the Indo-Pacific, China staged a mock missile strike and dispatched its fighter jets carrying live missiles and bombers on Friday as part of military exercises that Beijing has said were launched to punish Taiwan's new president, Lai Ching-te. The drills in the Taiwan Strait included mock bombing of foreign vessels. The bombers set up several attack formations in the waters east of Taiwan, carrying out mock attacks in coordination with naval vessels. China criticized Lai's inauguration speech, in which he urged Beijing to stop its threats and said that the two sides of the strait were not subordinate to each other. Taiwan's defense forces deployed F-16 fighter jets, a mobile air defense system and a surveillance drone to monitor and shadow China's drills around the island. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Chia-lung has said his country will not give in to China as the drills continued.
We will not make any concessions because of this Chinese military exercise, because it concerns the development of democracy in Taiwan. The inauguration ceremony of the Taiwan government, which was elected by the people, is a happy event, and the fact that Taiwan is a democratic country will not be changed just because Communist China declares that Taiwan is a part of China.
And Chris Gilbert joins us from Tokyo for more. Chris, talk to us a bit, if you will, about the Chinese war games around Taiwan, its purpose and motivation.
Well, the motivation has been sparked by the election of Lai Ching-te. And as one expert said to me earlier today, that, these kinds of highly sophisticated war games don't just happen in, they aren't organized in 3 or 4 days, which is the period of time that Lai Ching-te has been, in power since his inauguration in Taiwan. So this may have been, in the works, been planned for some time. So it is clearly a message that China has been intending to send, depending on the outcome of the Taiwanese elections, which leads us to the purpose, which is, if you look at the graphics that have come out from China's defense ministry of the simulation of these drills, of the boats around Taiwan, of the airplanes around Taiwan, and then the island of Taiwan itself flashing red, as they say, simulate a complete siege of the island. The purpose is very clear. It's to send a direct message to the new government of Taiwan, which has been sent already, that China will maintain and defend its one China policy. But experts are also telling me it's a message to other countries as well, that they want the one China policy respected, that anyone that does, diverges from that will be considered a separatist, much as Lai Ching-te has been called by Beijing. And so it's very clearly a message for the rest of the world as well.
Chris, thank you. Chris Gilbert reporting there from Tokyo. And now take a look at what else is making news around the world. At least 14 people have been reported dead and 3 others injured in a building fire in Vietnam's capital, Hanoi. The fire broke out in a 5-story building in a densely populated residential area on Friday. The cause of the blaze is under investigation. A restaurant on the Spanish island of Mallorca partly collapsed on Thursday, killing at least 4 people and injuring 16. Many others are feared trapped in the debris. And starting from El Dorado, an exhibition tour reached the Bogota airport in Colombia to celebrate 60 years of a creation. Creators brought 14 sculptures of Mafalda, the beloved Argentine comic character who is bringing smiles on the faces of travelers. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Finance ministers and central bank governors from G7 nations try to forge a consensus on how to use frozen Russian assets in the West to help Ukraine.
We are in Cannes, the famous city on the French Riviera. The 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival is here. So soak into 12 days of world cinema and the hottest fashion trends. The famous 24 steps leading to the Palais des Festivals, where most of the cinema at this festival is screened, are beckoning. Join me, Munmun Bhattacharya, as I take you through all the buzz around the festival and on India's participation in it, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu likely to address a joint meeting of the US legislature amid tensions over Israel's handling of the war in Gaza. China conducts a second day of war games around Taiwan, says the military drills test its ability to seize power on the self-governing island. And extreme weather events wreak havoc across the globe. Multiple casualties reported after a tornado hits the US. A heat wave grips India. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to speak before the US lawmakers soon amidst increased tensions with President Joe Biden over the Gaza conflict. During the Israeli embassy's annual Independence Day celebration on Thursday, US Speaker Mike Johnson said Netanyahu's upcoming address would demonstrate Washington, D.C.'s backing for the Israeli government during its most challenging period.
Prime Minister Netanyahu at the Capitol for a joint session of Congress. Yes. This will be a timely and I think a very strong show of support to the Israeli government in their time of greatest need.
The U.S. does not recognize the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court, and there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas, according to U.S. President Joe Biden. The ICC prosecutor Karim Khan has requested an arrest warrant against Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The U.S. is not a member of the court but has supported past prosecutions, including the ICC's decision last year to issue an arrest warrant for Russia's President Vladimir Putin over the conflict in Ukraine.
We've made our position clear on the ICC. We don't recognize the jurisdiction of ICC the way it's being exercised, and it's that simple. We don't think there's an equivalence between what Israel did and what Hamas did.
Tensions between police and protesters continue on U.S. university campuses amidst the Gaza conflict. Thursday witnessed another confrontation at the University of California, Los Angeles, with aerial footage capturing the clashes. Earlier, the university's head testified before a panel of U.S. lawmakers, acknowledging the need for readiness to dismantle activist camps following a violent clash last month. The International Court of Justice will deliver its verdict on South Africa's request to seize Israel's Rafah operation in Gaza on Friday. South Africa had petitioned the ICJ to stop Israel's Gaza operation, specifically in Rafah. While the UN's primary legal entity lacks enforcement capabilities, its rulings hold significant international influence. A verdict against Israel could further contribute to its political isolation. In other news, finance ministers and central bank governors from the G7 nations are trying to make progress on how to use frozen Russian assets in the West to help Ukraine. During 2 days of talks kicking off on Friday in Italy, they are also expected to discuss about China, artificial intelligence and taxes for multinational companies. Giles Gibson has more.
For months now, Ukraine's allies in the West have been going back and forth on how to leverage about $300 billion of frozen Russian assets. Now, on the one side, the US and Canada have been pushing for the assets to be confiscated and simply handed over to the Ukrainians. On the other side of the debate, there's European members of the G7, such as Germany and France. Now, the majority of these assets are held in Europe, and there are concerns about simple confiscation setting a dangerous precedent. The European Union has already agreed to use the profits from those assets to fund Ukraine's war effort. But the US wants to go one step further, using those profits as collateral for tens of billions of dollars of loans for Kyiv. The hope is they can dot the legal I's and cross the technical T's, so to speak, by the time G7 leaders meet for a summit next month. Heading into this meeting of finance ministers, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has also expressed concern about what she called Chinese overcapacity. Washington has recently raised tariffs on a wide range of Chinese products, including electric vehicles, solar panels and medical equipment. Now, we don't expect other G7 members to do the same, but their joint statements at the end of the talks could include stern warnings for China. Giles Gibson in Rome, reporting for DD India.
India is part of the solution as a mediator maintaining neutrality amidst conflicts, says Sri Ravi Shankar in an exclusive interview with DD India's Sakal Bhatt. Take a listen as he speaks on conflicts and deep divisions in current global polity.
You have spearheaded some unprecedented conflict resolution movements across the world. And if we look at the current times where we are living in, the world is vertically divided. What, according to you, is the new template of solution or resolution?
Dialogue is the only way. Unless people sit across the table, understand each other, getting into each other's shoe, there can't be peace. For this, India can play a very, very important role, and it is doing in some way, because it's a positive energy that promotes, dialogue. And if a person who is initiating, the mediator or the mediating force, has more positive outlook, a broad outlook towards life, like our country has, then it can make a big difference in the world.
So India is part of the solution. India is showing the way.
India is, of course. See, the way India has stirred itself, not falling into one trap or the other, and being in the middle.
Yes, neutrality. But Gurudev, India's neutrality on certain situations has also been questioned, where India has said that we are taking our side, but we are by peace, we stand by peace.
Yeah. I mean, we have done extremely well in this situation between Russia and Ukraine conflict. We did not just go into one-sided, which we were pushed to. Usually in this conflict, when there is a bipolar world, they try to push you over to either of the sides. So India here has very well managed to stay neutral and make our own economy strong. When every other economy is collapsing, we are growing. This credit nobody can take away from the current government.
India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has said that India has seen an unprecedented rate of change in the last 10 years in its military as well as economic prowess.
Changing very fast. In next 10 years, we will be a 10 trillion economy. It's a very, very major achievement and will be the world's third largest economy. It will also have the world's largest workforce. Technically, it will be one of the most advanced countries in many fields like semiconductors, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, high technologies, and various other areas of defense, security, manufacturing, and others. For military weapons and equipments, I think every few months we are bringing out a list of about 100 items or others where there is a ban on imports. Everything will be made in India. Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Giving away the President's medals for gallantry to the Border Security Force personnel, he said that in the last 10 years have seen India place border security on a priority. The Prime Minister himself has spent his last 10 consecutive Diwali festivals with the soldiers at the border.
Last 10 years have been the years in which the government has paid very, very high attention to the security and management of our borders. There is no Diwali in which our Prime Minister has not gone to Pakistan. He personally took interest to ensure all the governors of the 16 border states should visit the bordering districts. He also directed his cabinet ministers. And a lot of work was done. Survey of about 12,000 villages all along the border was done under his instructions.
Right, and now take a look at what else is making news in India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his condolences for the victims of Ambala accident through his tweet on social media platform X. The collision that happened on the Ambala-Delhi-Jammu National Highway claimed at least 7 lives and injured more than 20 people. A major blast occurred in a chemical factory at Dombivli in the Mumbai suburb of Thane on Thursday evening local time. The incident claimed at least 8 lives. 58 people have been hospitalized. The factory makes edible food colors using peroxides, a highly reactive chemical that can cause a violent explosion. The National Disaster Response Force and firefighting teams were working to put out the blaze. In an exchange of fire between left-wing extremists and the Indian Army, 8 rebels were killed. A big cache of ammunition was recovered from them. A joint operation by paramilitary and police personnel was on at the Narayanpur-Bijapur border in Chhattisgarh state. Varanasi's wooden lacquerware and toys have received the geographical indication tag. One of the oldest industries of the city, it employs around 2,000 people. The products are exported to many countries including France, Japan, Canada and the US. After India introduced a One District, One Product initiative, the demand and sale of the products has grown. Extreme weather events are wreaking havoc around the world, from devastating tornadoes in the US to severe heat waves in India and Pakistan. The next report tells you more.
From scorching heat to massive flood, extreme weather events have taken a toll on humanity across the world. On one hand, massive tornadoes swept over several states in the United States. In Iowa, 4 people were killed and several injured. In Texas, Tornado damaged over 500 houses. In Brazil, severe rainfall caused widespread flooding in various parts of Rio Grande do Sul, the southernmost state. The state experienced record flooding over the past month, resulting in 163 fatalities, displacing around 500,000 people. On the other hand, India is grappling with severe heat waves across several states. The India Meteorological Department on Friday issued a red alert for heat waves in states like Delhi, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana and other northern states. Heavy rain continues to wreak havoc in the southern state of Kerala, where 7 people have died so far. Alerts have been issued in several parts of the state. In addition, the weather department has issued a warning for a severe cyclonic storm that's expected to hit the coast of West Bengal in the next couple of days. In India's neighbouring country Pakistan, 26 districts are reeling under a severe heat wave. The authorities have taken measures to mitigate the impact by closing schools and postponing exams. Weather department said the temperature is expected to hit 50 degrees Celsius in southern province of Sindh. Scientists warn that human-induced climate change is to blame for these extreme weather events. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
And joining me from New Delhi is my colleague Tapas Bhattacharya. Tapas, any hopes of an early respite from the heat wave?
I'm really sorry to say this, Ramesh, but no, there doesn't seem like a respite, at least for people in Delhi NCR. Just to put it into perspective, the red alert has been issued for Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, parts of Rajasthan, east and west, both east and west Rajasthan. And this particular red alert is expected to stay till 26th, 27th of May at least. And maybe later on you might get some sort of a respite, but at least in next 3 to 4 days, as per IMD department, it doesn't look like there will be any sort of a respite. The temperature though will hover around 43 to 45 degrees Celsius, but the other places in Rajasthan we have seen the temperature has gone up to 48.8 degrees Celsius. So that's a worrying sign. That's the highest temperature that we recorded yesterday, and it is expected to be like that in those areas, especially in Rajasthan. The temperature is expected to remain in that particular range.
Now that said, what can you tell us about a cyclone in the Bay of Bengal?
Right, so the cyclone that we are talking about, it's not a cyclone, it's currently a depression, deep depression in fact, and it is expected by 26th May midnight, it is expected to turn into a severe cyclonic storm. We expect 25th to 29th, this particular cyclonic storm, which we've been tracking for the last 3-4 days at least. It was a deep depression, and then it turned into it's expected to turn into a cyclonic storm, and then severe cyclonic storm. The wind speed is expected to be in the region of 110 to 120 kilometer per hour. And it is expected to lash out at the Sagar Islands, near the Sagar Islands in West Bengal, and some places in Bangladesh. The major thrust will be in Sagar Island as well as Khepupara in Bangladesh. So we expect the cyclone to hit the coast of the West Bengal and Bangladesh near about 25th or 26th. That's still not exactly clear when exactly it will happen, but we will be keeping a track of that. And it's going to be a severe category, severe cyclonic storm category. So we are expecting that once the state government and the central government are working in tandem to make sure that people have been evacuated from the low-lying areas. The Met Department has also issued warning for fishermen as well as for people in the deep sea to vacate the areas and don't go and don't venture out in the sea. But again, as I mentioned, it's the wind speed of 120-130 km per hour is expected to be quite fatal when it hits the coast, and that's one reason why the state governments are leaving no stone unturned. We will keep you posted exactly what time it is expected to hit the coast, but as of now, 25th to 26th is the current date that we have been told.
All right, we leave it there. Tapas, thank you. Tapas Bhattacharya reporting there from New Delhi. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's benchmark equity indices, the Sensex and Nifty, reached new record highs in early trading on Friday. Smartphones become India's fourth largest export item, register a 42% growth to touch $15.6 billion in 2024. And Sunflowers Were the First Ones to Know, a short film directed by Chidanand Nayak of India, backs the first prize at the 2024 La Cinef Prizes at Cannes Film Festival.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Let me get you some business news now. India's benchmark equity indices, the Sensex and Nifty, reached new record highs in early trading on Friday, driven by anticipation of the country's election result and fresh foreign fund inflow. The 30-share BSE Sensex surged to a record high of 75,636, while the NSE Nifty surpassed the 23,000 milestone for the first time, reaching a peak of 23,026. At 2 p.m. India time, the Sensex was up about 100 points at 75,500, and the Nifty was up 35 points at 23,002. Smartphones have become India's fourth largest export item, with a 42% growth to $15.6 billion in 2024, moving a notch up in the rankings compared to the previous year. Data from the Commerce Department of India reveals that the surge in smartphone exports was propelled by a 158% rise in shipments to the US and the UAE, in addition to the Netherlands and the UK. Early estimates from the Indian Cellular and Electronics Association suggest that the value of mobile devices manufactured in India for both domestic and export markets reached $49.16 billion, marking a minimum of 17% increase year on year. And now to all the news from the world of sport. Sunrisers Hyderabad will take on Rajasthan Royals for a place in a final on Friday in Chennai. Sunrisers Hyderabad has had a great run so far this year, but Pat Cummins and his side were given a rude jolt when KKR destroyed its bowling to win the first qualifier and make it to the final. SRH would want to make sure it brings its A game against RR and qualify for the final. The winner of the game will face off against Kolkata Knight Riders in the final on Sunday. And time now to get you all the glitz and glamour from the Cannes Film Festival. The 77th Cannes Film Festival has truly been extraordinary for India so far. Sunflowers Were the First Ones to Know, a short film directed by Chidanand Nayak, bagged the first prize at the 2024 La Cinef Prizes on Thursday. The winning films were screened after the award ceremony. Lasanef consisted of 18 student films chosen out of 2,263 entries from 555 film schools around the world. Indian actor Preeti Zinta is in Cannes. The Dil Se star is all set to grace the award ceremony on Friday night local time, where Indian cinematographer Santosh Sivan will be honoured with the Pierre Ingenue Award. Zinta will present the honour to Sivan. An exclusive interview with our correspondent in Cannes, Munmun Bhattacharya, Preeti Zinta shared her enthusiasm ahead of the award ceremony. Take a listen.
Preeti G. Zinta, the Indian actor and entrepreneur who will be presenting the prestigious Pierre Ingenue Award to ace Indian cinematographer Santosh Sivan at the Cannes Film Festival, is right here with us in Cannes. Welcome, Preeti. Such a pleasure to have you on DD India.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Long time.
1998, you did Dil Se with Santosh Ji behind the lens, and now it's 2024. It's almost 26 years now. Your thoughts on this occasion?
Well, it's amazing. I think we have a karmic connection, Santosh and me. I did my first film with him. I shot 3 days for Soldier, 5 days for Kya Kehna. And then that time, nobody shot in one stretch. Only 10 days were left. So when my काम 10 days का हुआ, तो the film was released. It was ready because they'd already shot the whole film. And now I feel I'm coming take two in my life, where I'm come back into movies, and I'm doing Lahore 1947 with Santosh. And फिर I got this opportunity to present this amazing prestigious award to Santosh. So I feel great, and I'm very happy it's me.
What do you think makes him the best cinematographer in India and in Asia?
I think his eye for detail, how quick he is, how effortless he looks. आपको कभी ऐसे नहीं लगेगा कि वो इतनी मेहनत कर रही है और इतना टाइम लगा रहे हैं और इतना सोच रहे हैं. He's just so quick, and I don't know what it is, but he's just a genius. And vision ही है, और क्या हो सकता है. And he doesn't take himself so seriously. He won't come, and he's a little eccentric, which all geniuses are. But I absolutely love him.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hub. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.